Mayan calendar system, at least that I'm aware of. There could be one more, I think, but I could be wrong. One is called the Ahau. This is the civil calendar. It's your yearly, solar cycle kind of calendar. It's 365 days. You have 18 months in it of 20 days each, and a short month of 5 days at the end called a Wayeb to help it to align with the solar year. And then you have what you call the long count. This is one that was kind of responsible for the whole 2012 Doomsday Scare, although that was a misinterpretation of the Maya wisdom. And the long count is simply a cycle of 13 Baktuns, which is basically 5,125 years. So this is for measuring longer periods of time and changes within those long periods of time. The one we're going to focus on in this video is the Tzolk'in, and that's pretty much the one I focus on this channel. The Tzolk'in is a sacred calendar of 260 days that comprises of 20 day signs and 13 tones. So in traditional astrology, you have 12 signs, but in the Maya calendar system, you have 20. And they're called day signs because every other day the sign changes. And the 13 tones they have a significance, they have a meaning, but I'll explain this in the next slide as I go into talking about the Trecena. The day signs, also called Nawales in Yucatan, there are 20 energies or divinities that indicate the best supporting energy for an individual's life purpose. So you know how in traditional astrology you have your birth chart or natal chart? In the Tzolk'in system, you would receive, they don't particularly call it a Tzolk'in birth chart. It's called the Tree of Life chart, or we can just call it your personal profile chart, whatever, where you get your day sign and other assistant information, and the day sign is based on the date that you're born on. A week now is a cycle of 20 day signs. Now here's where it gets interesting. A Trecena is a period of 13 days where one day sign is dominant, somewhat more in the background though. And this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said that every 13 days there's a certain energy that is quite influential in um the human mind, the human body, even our physiology, our emotions, and even on a deeper energetic level, on a spiritual level, these energies are influential. And it lasts for a period of 13 days. The tones that I kind of wanted to talk about that but really can't in this video, there's 13 and every day is a different tone. So you can count one. Imagine it's a week of 13 days. That's the easiest way to talk about it. And this 13-day week is a span of a trikana where one day sign, one of these 20-day signs is very influential. So Tzolk'in also means the distribution of days, which I kind of like that. Although, don't hold me to it because I forgot where I got that from. But if you do some research, maybe you'll find it, or you might find something similar to that. But more significantly, it's an alive spiritual path by itself, which is why I love it so much. It's definitely helpful for the growth of the spirit. And this will be a journey of deep understanding should you choose to understand the 260-day Tzolk'in cycle and what it has to teach us. It's super, super relevant. So, we're going to start off the Tzolk'in cycle with the energy of Imix, or the crocodile. And just to sort of recap, every Trecena is 13 days, and because there's 20 energies, you're going to have 20 13-day cycles, which gives you a 260-day cycle. So that is the full length of the Tzolk'in. And then it repeats over and over. So it's about 100 days shorter than the solar year. But that also makes it interesting because the energies of, let's say, Crocodile or Jaguar will fall on different weeks or months of the year every other year. So let's get into it. Imix, or Crocodile, is a primordial kind of energy. It's this wild, raw, untamed mother type energy, if you will. Um, you can think of it in the same breath as Kundalini Ma, you could say, the mother energy that births creation. And this is a really good start for the Tzolk'in, for the Tzolk'in cycle. Although the traditional elders will say that there is no quote unquote first sign, um, and some of them will have different ones for what they consider to be the first sign, although they still maintain the same sequence of days and everything. But because it's a cycle, well, you can imagine it as a circle, and you can't really say where the beginning of a circle is. But for the sake of this lesson, we're going to start with Imix. But I do think, however, that it's quite fitting because the energy of Imix is that of initiation. It's an initiator. It's good for rebirth. During this time, you might feel like you have new ideas coming up in your mind, or new projects you want to start, or you want to start a new beginning. The energy of Imish or Crocodile is like this spring poppy energy. It's very it's like when you catch your second wind when you're jogging and you hit runner's high. That's kind of like the energy of Crocodile. It just gives you that extra energy to renew yourself. And like I said, there's new ideas that can come forward. There's a thin line between new ideas or geniusness and madness and mental issues. And because there's a certain volatility to this deep, deep energy within the system, which can birth, creative new ideas, but can also create a sense of mental instability or mental shakiness. The Mayas will pray or ask for mental stability in this time as well, especially for those prone to, you know, being a little bit shaken up in their minds. Yeah, so these are keywords here that you can use. And by the way, you can also download this guidebook if you want. There's going to be instructions in the description of the video. Another thing about the energy of Image is that it's very supportive for attention to detail. Because again, you have that extra energy flowing up into the system, into your faculties. You can imagine a mother who's like cleaning her home. It's spring cleaning time. Again, I'm bringing back the idea of spring. And she's making sure that every little nook and cranny is clean, that attention to detail alongside that spring poppy energy and that mother energy, all that together. The other thing about why it's called crocodile is if you can imagine how crocodiles sit in a in the um in the swamp, they like to kind of like you can just imagine them sitting low, you know. Uh, that's an illusion to the depths of it, to the depths of where this energy is arising from. It's also connected to large bodies of water like the ocean. And if you can imagine the depths of the ocean, how deep it is, you know, and that is the depths of um where this energy is, you can say, active on what level it's active from. So those are some things that you can expect during the season of emission crocodile. And when it comes up in your life, if you are conscious of it, you can take advantage of it in ways that suit you. Or if you feel a little bit, shaky in your mental health situations or whatever, you can also understand that it could be a challenge that can come around the time of Imish, and you can expect it to be, you know, settle down after 13 days. And within the time, you can do what you need to do for yourself to be uh, on top of your mental health issues, especially if that's something that is a concern for you. The next energy that comes after Imish is Ish, also called the Jaguar. So Ish is a very beautiful energy. It is the most feminine of all the energies in the Tzolk'in cycle. It's symbolic of feminine energy, Mother Nature, the earth, and a simplicity of inner wisdom. And also a sense of integrity. This energy is very spiritual. A lot of spiritual inclinations. People might think more about spirituality or religion in this time. It's a good time for divination. especially to take a retreat, especially into nature, or to take a silent retreat as well. People might feel like not speaking as often as they used to, or being more quiet, being more silent, being more settled. It's also very fertile for higher consciousness as well. Um, the energy of Jaguar also offers one the mental fortitude required, because it does require some amount of courage to try to venture into or step into higher states of awareness. But yeah, Mother Earth is and Mother Nature is very, very important in the season of Jaguar. I'm wondering if there's something else that I wanted to say about this season. It's definitely a time when the body might feel more restful than usual, which is also, if that's how you feel, then take your break or take a few days off work if you really need it. Or don't be surprised if you feel a deeper need for rest, because the energies of Ish are connected to the authentic natural needs of the body. That's what I'm going to say as well. It's not really, see, Ish is not really about the hustle and bustle, the grind kind of lifestyle. No, Ish is very different. Ish is more in tune with nature and attuned to that. So it will bring one closer to those things. And here's a spiritual dream I had about Ish, or the Jaguar. I had it right at the beginning of the Ish Trecena this year. I was meditating with fire and I asked to be shown more about the energy of Jaguar's nature. And in this dream that I received, I was in a very green area, and suddenly elephants and other wild animals started running through the shallow stream, and they're running here and there, and there was lots of children and other people running around as well, as if they're playing tag with the animals and being chased around playfully. It was very thrilling and highly energetic and almost daunting. And the energy of Ish is one that's actually very much connected to the life, sorry, very much connected to the life force of nature herself. I had a little tongue twister moment. And that's the strength that the energy of Ish carries. But while this was like highly energetic in the dream, there was still a coolness about everything, and a deeper knowing was having its play. And the Jaguar essence and spirit became very obvious to me from this dream. And the Chicchan that comes after Jaguar is Manik, or the deer. Now, if Jaguar was the most feminine energy, and you can imagine how women like to dress up in Jaguar prints, that's an easy correlation. And how Jaguars are also very quiet. They walk with very soft, soundless steps, which is also connected to the Jaguar season being a time for silence, or very a good time for silence. Manik is different. Manik is the most masculine energy within the Tzolk'in cycle. And that being said, it values respect and self respect, and speaking up for one's own truth or standing up for oneself. Being able to stand your truth, speak your truth, is very important to the energy of Manik and Deer. And sometimes in this season, you could be prompted or pushed by life situations to have to speak your truth. Or you might notice the importance of that in your life during this time. Or perhaps you might feel the strength to do that more than usual in other seasons. But these are some keywords that you can take about the energy of deer. It's highly masculine energy. If Ish or Jaguar is a time to honor the feminine and the women in our lives, then Manik or deer is a time to honor the masculine and the men in our lives. And Manik is also connected to working with our hands and art and aesthetics. It's also considered to be the sign of the artist in one way. Not that other signs do not do artistic things, but Manik has a special connection with that. And so the next Trecena that comes after this period is called Ahau, or light. And this energy symbolizes a bunch of things. There's an interesting duality with the energy of light. One hand, we can say there's a sense of devotion, a sense of wanting to achieve certain goals or visions, or creating new goals for yourself. These goals could be spiritual or material targets. And I break it down this way. There's two sides of inspiration here. One can be moved by life to appreciate life itself through art, poetry, song, or devotion, which is a more spiritual expression of this energy. Another way is that people can be moved by life or life circumstances to have the motivation to achieve something material, substantial, something that they want to achieve in life. So light can empower people spiritually, to be spiritually devoted, or to seek to accomplish um, their goals, or to revisit the vision board and see what you really want up there and what you want to take off from it. It's definitely a very good time to see what you want to achieve in your life, and you will feel that energy sort of prompting you to do that, or giving you a conducive space energetically to review these things. So anything related to that, Ahau or light, is the best season for that. There's more I could say about it, but I think I want to keep it simple. There's just so much I can say about all these energies, but I'm happy with how I'm going about it right now. I tried to record this video a day ago, and it was about almost 2 hours, and I had technical difficulties and issues, and the sound did not record, so I had to start over, which I'm doing right now. But I think it's for the best. I can kind of keep things more concise and not take too much time to describe all these energies. So the next Trecena is called Ben or Cain. And with Cain, just imagine oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back to light. I need to connect one final point. Just to symbolically make it make more sense to you. Imagine, like, when you see or think of light, I mean, that's obvious, but to have a vision that is connected to light, whether it's a spiritual vision, or you're touched by the light of the spirit, quote unquote, or you have a vision in your mind for something you want to do, that does involve some sense of light, some sense of vision, some sense of being able to see. So in those aspects, you have your spiritual light and you have light of a vision to want to get something done. Okay, I'm trying to connect the glyphs and the symbols and the names to what I'm saying so it's easier for you guys to remember. Thank you for bearing with me. So with cane, imagine you have a cane like sugar cane, or usually the Mayas will consider corn stalk. It stands up right up straight like a tree trunk. So the things that come up during the season of Ben or Cain is father figures, fatherhood, the home, family, and the the masculine presence within a family sense, or a community sense, like your patriarchs, but not in the sense of how we use the word patriarchy today. I know, that's it's this is what I'm talking about right now. It's quite different. We're not talking about the system of domination. We're talking about healthy father figures in the family, home, or community. Those men that are there to, protect. So the feelings or thoughts of the value of these father figures in our lives, and the significance of having them or the lack of them, or if we didn't have a good father, sometimes feelings that are connected to those things may come back to us, and we might reflect on them more. Or women will start to think about, the significance of fathers, and I've seen sometimes women who, unfortunately, they didn't have the father of their child didn't really stick around. But during the time of a ban, they start to consider things from the man's perspective, or they start to look at it with more a deeper sense of understanding. Not and less, you could say, judgment. I don't know, but there's a certain empathetic eye towards men, and also not to say that a man stepping out is okay or good. I'm definitely not condoning that, but there's sort of like diving deeper into those issues. You can kind of see, or you can kind of feel, and definitely matters of the home and family are also relevant during this time. The other interesting thing about Cain is that it does also symbolize the energy of doing what you love and your talents and the confidence that you gain through that. And I'm going to connect the cane and the image of a cane. Just imagine how straight the cane is, or the stalk is, or a tree of the trunk of a tree. It's something that you can lean your back against, or something that stands up straight for itself. That's what you expect or hope for in the men around you, that they are there to protect you, that there's a sense of security, that there's a sense of protection or strength. You can lean on them, you can depend on them. And the other way to connect this imagery of a sugarcane standing tall is, or a tree trunk. I like the tree trunk, it's very easy. When you're doing what you love, and when you focus on how you feel when you do what you love, there's a sense of energy that comes up within you, up your spine, even if you're sensitive enough to feel it. It just feels uplifting. You walk with your back straight. You walk different when you're doing what you love. There's more pride. And this energy that's flowing up, this creative energy that's flowing up into your system, up your spine. The spine is a conduit for that energy. And doing what you love supports the whole process of raising your energy. And you can connect that to how a plant grows, how the sugarcane grows up, how the corn stalks grow up, you know. Um, and during the season of bend, sometimes you could find yourself tapping back into things that maybe you love to do this, but you had stopped for some time, and for some reason you're coming back to it. It's definitely a good time to investigate what you really love and enjoy doing. Because doing what you love also brings that feeling or experience of feeling that you're home, like you found your place. Finding your thing is also similar to finding your place. And some people feel more home doing what they love than even at their homes. So it's kind of funny, but yeah. And I love how in the Maya system, like doing what you love and family and supportive father figures, they're all connected within the same energy signature. You get all these lessons and you get all these connections within one energy itself. This is why I really love this system. Anyway, moving on. The next energy after Ben is death, or Cimi. And death is somewhat of an androgynous energy. It's like a imagine a revolving door. It's like that area of spin, or imagine where masculine and feminine, if they're on a spectrum where they meet each other, it's not quite this or that. It's sort of like an opportunity, like there's a that space of transition, that space of transition where one becomes the other. uh that little doorway, that's like the energy of death. And there can be a feeling of transformation being easier in this time or possible. Maybe someone wants to transform life situations, or they may feel a sense of spontaneity, you know, uh, spontaneous changes, you could say, or spontaneous happenings. Transformations can also come in a spontaneous way. There can also be a sense of mental lightness or looseness or absence, because there's a doorway, so there's somewhat of an opening. So there is less rigidity within the mental structures, so to speak. And the sense of ego could feel loose at this time. You could think of the term ego death, which is why the energy of death is also a great season for meditation and to meditate in. And for those who are very energetically sensitive to themselves, they can easily pick up on how they feel like their sense of identity is not as concrete during the season of death. So those who are trying to do certain spiritual things, this is a very good season for that. Or those who would like to transform situations in their lives, there's a certain openness, a certain looseness, a certain door opening kind of feeling that the energy of death provides. And that can be an opportune time to try out those things. Or if those things kind of come up, then you can lean into them more. And during this season, people do pray to not get illnesses because that can be a thing. The traditional mind would say stuff like that. Concerns or thoughts of death or spirituality can come up during this time as well. The thing about illnesses, though, is that if you do contract an illness, I've personally learned when my system is weaker because I'm sick, I do become more humble. I do realize that um, uh, I'm not all powerful or whatever, or like I'm vulnerable to how well things within me and outside me work together. And that brings a certain sense of humility. That also helps to loosen up the ego, if you will. And yeah, here are the keywords for, this energy. You can see them on your screen. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you can also download the guidebook. The next energy in the Tzolk'in cycle is Cauac, or storm. Now, this one, a little similar to Ben or Cain, but different. If Cain was about the family and the home and, the patriarchs, you could say it's more masculine-ish. Uh, the energy of storm is more feminine, and it also is connected to the family, but more so the community. If you can imagine when it's raining and it's the storm, the rain doesn't just fall on top of one house. It falls on the whole neighborhood, the whole community, the whole society, the whole city, even the whole country sometimes. So the energy of storm, it involves more of a communal thing. Communal concerns can come up at this time. How people feel about their communities can become more stronger. Even thoughts about your relationship to your community. And this usually comes up in your work because a large percent of the time, your interaction with other people is going to be through your work. So people might kind of start to think about the meaning or significance of their work and the why behind their work in the context of the community at large that, they're dealing with, or their families. A lot of times people can realize that, oh, my why is my son, my daughter, my family, my wife, etc. And it kind of reminds us of the deeper significance of our work in terms of our relationships, whether it's the family or community at large. So you have all these kind of things coming together. Um, and I do mention the idea of work because even without thinking so much about the community itself, people may naturally start to think about what kind of work they want to do in their life. And then from that point of view, they start connecting it to their individual place within community and what they want to provide in that sense. But there's definitely because Ben is more like, I want to do what I love to do. Ben is strongly like that. But the energy of Storm is, it can be that way, but also the community context is part of that contemplation. You can say it's the expansion of the energy of Ben in some regards. And I think it's beautiful how these energies are talking to each other and how you have the energy of light that helps you, plan your goals, the energy of Ben that reminds you of what you really love to help you be in alignment to if your goals are in alignment with what you love or not, or if they're in alignment with your family life or not, etc. And then the energy of storm, brings that further into a wider context. Okay, now think about community as well. And if you feel like what you're doing is how you want to be seen and what you want to give to your community. So this is a very beautiful story that's happening. And to move through these trichenas consciously is so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Just imagine how much more competent you can be at organizing your life intentionally when you listen to these energies and what they teach you and what they show you, and you live in tune with them. This is why this is so important, and it's why I'm giving myself another go to make this video. All right. The next energy is called Ebb, also known as the human or the road. And this is one of my favorite energies. I mean, they're all my favorite, but this is special if you are a meditator because in this time, the system is very receptive. It's like a chalice or a goblet or a cup. Just imagine that you are an empty vessel for the divine energy to fill. And it's really like that. If you meditate in the Trecena, the different energies that are there, meditating in the Trecena of ebb has a very interesting feeling. It feels like you're being filled in, like a cup being filled with wine or something. And this is also a good time for learning through travel or stories, or through meeting people. If you imagine when you're on the road or you're traveling and you meet all people from different cultures, backgrounds, tribes, etc., you get to learn more. You get to absorb and soak up a lot more. So again, we have the analogy of the cup or the human. If you even look at the glyph of the energy of ebb, it shows a human face because it's very much, about the human being or about humanity and a sense of humanity. You can even tie that to service to others. Um, and also, a spiritual lesson about the energy of ebb is that the divine path is synonymous with the human. You walk the path, you are the path. The destination is within the path, which is yourself. It's a very beautiful truth that's coming out through this energy of ebb, the human or the road. And I think all spiritual teachings sort of allude to this or tell people this, somewhere that while you're doing your practices, while you're doing your meditation, like you yourself, you're the destination and you are the path. So it's the human being as a path, as a road, and seeing the significance of the human and its divinity off and looking at other people, you serve them and you treat them in a different way with a deeper sense of humanity. So ebb is definitely the energy of the humanitarian. The other thing I wanted to say about the energy of ebb is it could make for a good storyteller, as a good novelist. There's a few, writers who have this energy. But again, I don't want to go too deep into personal profiles because that would turn this 5 minute talk about ebb into a 1 hour conversation. I have videos that go up to an hour and a half just talking about one energy. So I'm keeping it brief. And yeah, so as far as experiencing this season as a Trecena, it's very good to be receptive, very good to explore new things and understand perspectives from new people or however actually it impacts you. You just pay attention to that and make conscious choices or intentions that align with your own personal goals, spiritual or material. All right, should we keep going? I say yes, because this is a recording. The next energy is Chicchan, or the serpent. Now, the serpent is symbolic of, it stands for body wisdom, um, health, physical strength or integrity. And I say physical strength because during the season of the serpent, you can feel like the physical body is empowered in some way. Like over here, I stay in Canada right now. During the winter season, it was easier to feel like the cold did not affect you as much during the season of the serpent, as if you were somewhat shielded or the body was more empowered or stronger in this time. And that is especially so if you are healthy. Um, or even if you're not as healthy, there can still be a certain empowerment because consciousness is now more invested in the physical aspect of the body. This is also a great time for physical purification, like if you wanted to start a fast or go on a diet or exercise to purge the body. During this season, you will hear more people talking about wanting to fast or diet because the body is louder now. This energy is telling people to take after their bodies more, and it's not like a mental thing. People themselves start to feel from within themselves the things that the body would like to do. It's kind of like it's the time that the body is naturally honored by nature and the body has a chance to speak and we can hear the body a lot more clearly in this time. And this also for those who are more sensitive in the energy way, uh the Shakti, the forces Shakti can become more active in this time, which is also important for having a clean system and a clean body. All these things go hand in hand. And yeah, I think I touched on it pretty well. Oh, one other thing. So during the season of serpents, think of a snake, how a snake is very sensitive to threats. Like it doesn't like to be threatened. It can, send warning shots or warning bites at anything. Like a snake is very protective. During the Trecena of the serpent, people who feel like something's a threat to them or a threat to their safety, they could react or lash out more strongly. And pay attention to teenagers and kids in this time as well, or people who are living in disturbed atmospheres or vulnerable situations. They can become more sensitive to threats against their survival. Remember that the serpent represents body wisdom, and the body is strongly connected to survival. So one's sense of survival can become uh, more sensitive at this time. So yeah, you can. If you hear more people crying for help, do not be surprised. And an interesting thing that happened in the last Serpent Trecena was, and this is something I spoke about on my Instagram. The United Healthcare CEO was, he was gunned down by Luigi Mangione. And this happened during the Trecena of the Serpent. And was telling people that to ignore any bodily needs will carry a higher price during the season of Trecena. Like if you feel like you need to fast or take care of your body, you better do it. Don't eat junk food thinking it's going to be the same as any other time. Mistreating your body has a higher penalty during the season of Trecena of the Serpent than any other Trecena, actually, in my experience. Yeah, so this happened during the, during the Serpent's Trecena, and this you could say is a more of a macrocosmic or collective experiencing of this energy. And yeah, don't screw up people's healthcare. All right, the next Trecena is the knife. This one is extremely powerful for those who are doing shadow work, therapy, deep contemplation about themselves, wanting to understand themselves better, because the mental clarity, the heightened discrimination, heightened logic, heightened sense of discernment of the mind is on 10, is on max. The mind is like a knife, sharp as a knife. You Yeah, it's just wonderful. It's honestly wonderful for clarity, analyzing situations, analyzing yourself, getting down to the nook and cranny of things through through the faculty of your logic or intellect. It's it's almost what it feels so rewarding. It almost feels juicy. It almost feels fun, And if you look at the glyph of the symbol of Etznab or knife, you have this like two pyramids mirroring each other, or you could say four actually. Um, there's a respect for form here. There's a respect for geometry and alignment and postures and right way of doing things, or the right and correct way of looking at things. Um, and there's also a sense of care for the skeletal system and teeth, or the bone structure, which is the internal, structures of the body that give it its supports, and without your bones, you can't really move. Even though the bones in and of themselves don't move as the muscles, but without that underlying structure, the shit just don't work. And so there's a sense of value and respect for these forms. And they don't just have to be like within our body, they can even be outside our body. Or when I talk about the right way of doing things, like if you're working out, making sure you have the right form, or if you are trying to build something, making sure that, the ways that we are constructing our plans, our projects, or physical things that we're trying to build is done in alignment and correctly. So, this is what the energy of knife or Etznab has to teach us. And it's an amazing time to receive these teachings and incorporate them in our life where we need them the most. So do not miss the energy of night. And the cool thing about understanding these cycles and these energies is that when they come and when they happen, we can take advantage of them. It's not that we benefit from, a moment or two of clarity during this season. It's the fact that once you know that your mental faculties are very sharp, you can consciously tackle other things that you want to look at or you want to delve into. And you can benefit from it immensely. And that's the value of knowing the Trecena cycle and living in tune with sacred time. And moving on, the next energy is Chuen, or the monkey. This one here is the energy of the divine child, or the inner child, or children. Children's issues, childhood issues, they can come up. It's also a time to honor the child as well. Like how we had a moment to honor the feminine, the mother, the father, the masculine. Now it's the baby's time. And it's a good time to get in touch with our inner creativity, our inner curiosity, whether you're interested in science, art, history, like things that as a child would like kind of get you going. Yeah, to just lean into those things and humor, playfulness, all those beautiful things. It's a time for those who want to get in touch with their inner child, you know, this is perfect. To those who want to relate or learn how to relate with children better, this is the perfect time. To those who want to honor children, because in the Maya system, of course, because the divine energy of the child is here, it is an amazing time and a prime time to be close with children and have our best time with children. And it's also a good energy for romance. It's very auspicious for couples, marriage, and reigniting relationships. And I find it so fascinating that all this is held together by one energy signature. And it's so profound and so true because whenever you're getting into a relationship with someone and you're mature, you know that childhood issues have such a big impact on adults and adult relationships, especially the more intimate ones. Okay. And without having to study psychology, the Maya calendar already has that lesson within its energy signature of the Chuen, of the monkey. And the Maya even go as far as preferring to get married on monkey days, you know. And they teach that if you want to bring back some spark into your relationship, then the Chuen Trecena or the monkey Trecena is the one of the best times in the year to do that. And of course, with what this energy brings, the added creativity, the sense of humor, playfulness, like you want this, you want this. So if you want to plan a time with your wife or your spouse or your kids to like really, reignite the spark of intimacy that you have with one another, it can be the energy of the monkey is very supportive of that. It's going to be like 5 times easier to do that. Not that it's impossible to do it in other seasons. No, it's definitely possible. But in this time, it's very auspicious for that. So that's what we have with the energy of Chuen. And now we have the Chicana of Kan, or the seed. And this one, I started off the keywords by saying it's the energy of society, but let me dive into that a bit. There can sometimes, during the season of Kan, be a sense of compulsiveness. So to overeat, to overdo, to overspeak. Sometimes people speak out of turn. They blurt out things they wouldn't normally say to you. Um, there's a sense of no matter what you do, you don't feel like you've done enough. You could overwork or overwork out in the gym. There's a sense of doing too much, eating too much. So, especially with eating too much, be careful. Okay, just be careful. But beneath this seemingly compulsive uh, thing is actually a sense of immense unexpressed potential. That's why this energy is called the seed. Um, because just imagine a seed becomes like aware that there is a blueprint of a tree inside it, and a tree is so huge, but a seed is so small. And so there is this impatience, or there's this strong, strong, strong desire to express its immense potential. So imagine a seed that's a bit impatient and just wants to explode into a tree. And that's why it's like you've done this, you've done that, and there's a certain feeling of it's not enough. Or if it's not that case, then there's a certain feeling of compulsive compulsive action or speaking. Like you're not, um, and you can notice this with people around you too. It's kind of like people forget when enough is enough. But when you become conscious of what this energy actually is about, it's an amazing time to just meditate and sit down, because you you come back to the energetic expression of this energy. If this energy is looking for mental expression, then no amount of knowledge is enough knowledge. No amount of learning is enough learning. No amount of courses is enough courses. People who've done enough maybe feel like maybe I should go back to school again or something. It just doesn't feel like enough. If it's in terms of the body, then no amount of food is enough food. No amount of sex is enough sex. No amount of pleasure is enough pleasure. This is actually the spiritual dilemma. When it comes to the level of emotion, then maybe not enough of whatever is not enough. But if you come back to the level of energy and you are aware of what it is, meditating in this season can feel like immense energetic potential. It can be you can have very lively, very. Let me not say that because I could put expectations, but you can have very profound meditative experiences during the time of seed, especially if you are energetically sensitive. Now, seed, because it's very much connected to physical energies as well. There's matters of sexuality can come into play, or thoughts about it. And because it's a very active energy, it's very good for connection, communication, networking. Just imagine a marketplace and the hustle and bustle of the marketplace, or even Wall Street. That is kind of like the energy of seed. That's why I call it the energy of society. Now, I'm using the word society intentionally because it's not the energy of community, it is of society. The society aspect of it, the you know, highly active aspect of it is more dominant here. And can or seed people are actually very good with, networking and connecting people to each other and all that. It's really, really great. If you want to have someone who likes to get busy, or it's a good energy to have in the workforce, actually, to be honest. It's the complete opposite of Jaguar. Jaguar's like, screw that. I'm going on vacation. I'm going into the jungle for 2 weeks. Leave me alone. This one is like, we out here. We out here and we want to screw everyone in our office. Yeah, that's seed. It doesn't just want to connect conversationally, but even physically if it could. Seed individuals, if you're born on the seed day, then you understand your sexuality. I don't need to say anything. All right. Okay, let's keep it moving. The next Trecena is Caban, or Earth. Now, if the energy of knife was a very like analytical, like the mind is a knife kind of thing going on, this one is more of the imagination faculty of the mind. So like a drifting mind. It's easier to reminisce on the past or imagine future scenarios, um, dreams or fears if you have a negative mind or negative thoughts coming up. But just imagine a dreamy, drifty mind, or a mind that the thing about dreaminess or an imaginative mind is that new ideas can pop up, groundbreaking concepts. It's a great time for contemplation, and this is the beauty of this energy. Is sometimes it's not even looking for something particular, but because the imagination and the driftiness, of it all is happening, then new concepts, new ideas can come about, like plans for the future, like things you want to like do. But in a it's very mental. It's very mental, but through imagination. And there's also a sense of clinginess, especially with children. And just to describe it to you how it connects, because the energy is somewhat imaginative, and I talked about reminiscing over the past or imagining the future. Sometimes when people project future scenarios into their mind, they might project, how can I say it in the right way where it makes sense? When you feel like your mom isn't always going to be there for you, you know? Or if your mom leaves the room and your baby is like, oh, she come back. This worrisomeness, you could say. If you were like at peace, centered, grounded, and you're like living in the moment. But if you're not living in the moment, you're living with additional concerns. The sense of concern can create attachments to what you want to have right now so you don't lose it. So children can become very clingy. And with kids or even adults, it's not necessarily a mental thing, like you made all the mental calculations of um oh, my mom, my dad left and I don't know what's gonna come. Like it's not so much like that. It's also the energy itself is of that makeup, so to speak. Maybe someone who's more older might start to think about, my parents are not gonna be around all the time. I gotta, come to terms with that. Like those thoughts can come in easily during the time of Caban, just because of the nature of it. But just as an experiment, pay attention to very young children, and if they are more clingy in this time, just understand that it's the effect of this energy, and it will come back to normal after the Trecena is over. So instead of, you know, thinking that something is wrong with the kids, now you understand the energy at play, so you know what to do. Which is why it's beautiful to understand the Tzolk'in cycles. All right. I hope I did a decent job explaining Caban. I think I could have done a bit better, but it's okay. All right, now the next Trecena is Hawk or Dog. And this one is, if you imagine the song One Love by Bob Marley, that's the energy of Dog. Friendships, loyalty, playfulness, love, relatability with others, even enjoying the outdoors, I think it's part of it. Just imagine a dog, like anything that is dog like or the archetype of a dog, you can very easily apply it to this energy. It definitely feels so much that way. Friendships, how dogs are so loyal and they're ready to play, they're ready to have to have fun in a social sense. And friendships that mean a lot to you or the most to you. It's also a good time to review your friendships as well. There's also, on the flip side, a sense of intolerance to injustice or abuse of authority. Like honestly, dog people are like the first in line in the Black Lives Matter movements or any other kind of protests. If you wanted to get a visual of this energy, it's very loving, but dogs know how to bark to protect their territory or what they love. So justice, fairness, and right relationship is very important for the energy of dog. And because dog is, I think of all the energies, it's the one that's more directly connected to love. It's a very important lesson because some people are being gaslit every day. Or if you love me, you can take my shit, or you do this. Like people are being gaslit um to accept things that are actually wrong, that they don't have to accept. No, the energy of dog is, yes, there is that love, but there's also calling out bullshit with as much bark and bite as you can. It's part of it. Intolerance to injustice is part of love. It's the other expression of love, you could say, or the other expression of this energy. So yes, do not be gaslit. Do not be a pushover. Enjoy the playfulness of life, the love, the friendships, the healthy social atmospheres. But also, when it's time to pop off, it's okay. No guilt. This energy is the same energy. All right. I hope I'm not losing my voice now. We're almost done. The wrist right here is the energy called Akbal or night. This is somewhat like think about twilight, but you can also think about night itself. And I say twilight because twilight is like neither daytime, neither nighttime, but leaning into nighttime. And there's a sense of is it going to be this or is it going to be that? The energy of, and this was actually the most difficult Trecena or energy for me to understand, but I finally understood why and I finally got it. So I want to go with the more simpler aspects of it. The ability to notice trends early or see ahead, even technological trends. Just imagine, because it's called night, imagine having night goggles and being able to see in the dark. You can see what, ahead of things that people cannot see, but you have a special vision so you can see these things. So imagine that aspect of night and night energy. There's an ability to see ahead. And out of that comes a sense of opportunisticness or being able to catch opportunities, catch waves right when they happen, like early, right when they're budding, before other people have caught on to it. I can also say that there's a sense of attentiveness as well that can happen that allows one to be able to see ahead or to see things early. It's reflective. It's reflective in a sense like contemplative. If I'm not talking about like mirror reflection, I'm talking about reflective in a sense of um contemplative, especially of the nature of life, the duality of life, or the unknown. The energy of night is actually, and I don't think of it's making as much sense as I want it to make, but I will make sure it makes sense. Uh, it's kind of like in life, sometimes you have a lot going on, and sometimes you have nothing going on. You know that there's a mystery to that. There's a mystery to its flow. And sometimes this energy is connected to like jobs, opportunity, you catching this, you caught that, you caught the fish that no one could catch. But then it's also like sometimes just nothing. Sometimes you throw your hook into the water and you catch nothing. Sometimes you've done all these applications and you didn't get that job or whatever. And you heard them say that, hey, night is, the kind of opportunity. Things can happen. And sometimes nothing at all happens. And just sitting there with the unknown, just pondering. Sometimes a lot is happening, sometimes nothing is happening. And actually, if you want to understand this better, sometimes night people are very wishy-washy. Sometimes they're like this, sometimes they're the complete opposite side of the coin. It's how they can be. And there's that sense of unpredictability or a sense of, just let it be as it is. And this was kind of difficult to figure out because I couldn't pinpoint what night energy was trying to say. But because it felt so elusive, I couldn't really clock it, you know. And then it dawned on me, the feeling of I don't know what this is really. Like, you know how it feels when you're trying to remember something but you can't, you forgot it, and it's like it's unknown, but you feel like you should know it. Or if you're just thinking about the nature of life and it's so mysterious, like you can't really clock it. It's like it's that sense of unknown. That is the energy of night. It's reflective, your attention is keen and alive. You're like just waiting. If anything, like let's say if you remember that word you're trying to think of, you're there, you're ready with your hands open, hoping that your brain reminds you of the word that you wanted to say. It's that's kind of like seeing early or catching something early, but also you're in the state of the mystery of it all, the elusiveness of it all, how something that you think you should know, you don't know. How this life that you are living, you're part of it, but it is still at the same time so mysterious to you. Its nature, its duality. You don't know how it should be, if it should be this way or that way. And so you're sitting there with this keen attention, you know, with the unknown. That itself is night energy. And just imagine me just trying to figure it out, like what this night energy is, year after year after year, until I finally understood me feeling like I don't know what the energy of night is actually it. That is the influence of night energy. It was so interesting when it finally made sense. And so yeah, that is Akbal and that is night. And this is a whole spiritual like lesson and realization in and of itself. And I actually all these energies are like spiritual paths in and of themselves, and they all connect to each other. You can imagine the Chuen, which is the monkey, as you can even connect that to Krishna, how this Krishna Radhi, he's very childish, he's very playful, and he also had there's like a romantic aspect to his story as well with Krishna Radhi. Um, I could be butchering some of the names, but you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's the calendar, the Mayan calendar, the Tzolk'in cycle. It's so beautiful. There's just so much to learn and gain. And the best part of it is that you learn experientially. It's through experience that these things come to you. It's so beautiful. Right now, it's like I'm giving you the mental play, the mental template, so you can kind of clock it when these trichenas come. Then I can also help you to understand or give you tools to know what tricana is on at what week or what day so that you can follow these cycles consciously and grow from them spiritually so much more faster. And all this, by the way, is great for shadow work too, and knowing yourselves, knowing your triggers. Um, for example, in the season of the monkey, with childish childhood issues are very prominent in that time. So people may think or tend to contemplate more about their childhood experiences and how it's like affected them in this life and etc. Stuff like that. There's more sensitivity to anything related to the child or the inner child. So being able to do shadow work and understanding that things are coming up also within a certain sequence of time and energy, it's so helpful. It's so helpful. Because then if I'm feeling a certain way, this is my lesson plan for the next 13 days. And it's not gonna be like forever, but I have a different approach to how I want to deal with things now or tackle my issues, for example. There's so many ways and so many opportunities for growth. All right. This next trikana is called Kib or Ahau. This is what I like to call old soul energy. Again, it's this one like a Jaguar is quite restful in nature, but it's a great time for study, research. Just imagine a library, with your grandparents. Well, I don't know if grandparents go to the library, or let's say a library at your grandparents' house, and they're telling you stories. It's great for contemplation. And this ancient old soul type energy, you think about the ancestors, ancient wisdom, the value of ancient traditions, Sanatana Dharma, the eternal law or order, or the wisdom of ancient spiritual practices and teachings and how they've stood the test of time and they're so relevant till today, and a respect for ancient wisdom, spiritual sites, temples, all that stuff. This is strongly the energy of Kib or the owl. And it's also a time to honor our grandparents because they are, the oldest of our population and their wisdom. And with this concept of age or time or ancientness, of course, it gives way to contemplation, but there's also a sense of karmic debts or the weight of the karmic past and not wanting to have the weight of the past stop you from being able to live your present life. So karmic resolution through forgiveness and reconciliation is very important during this time. For me personally, my personal story with this is that I had a rough childhood. Was at odds with my father, and when I left him, I hadn't like seen him again for about 8 years, and when I came back, it was tricky. Even the idea of talking to him, I wasn't sure I wanted to do that, but we ended up getting connected to each other, and he, to my surprise, kind of issued somewhat of an apology or something like that. during the season of Owl. And Owl is just the if there are certain things in life that are hard to let go of or hard to forgive or reconcile about, the energy of Owl is most supportive to let go of those heavy karmic issues, the heavy things on your shoulder. Owl just knows how to peel it off. It's like the wise elder that, you know what, come here, let me take care of you, let me take that off your back. There's a certain wisdom energetically that is supportive for these matters. So forgiveness, reconciliation, karmic resolution, and healing for the heart. The Kemetic people used to say that your heart should be light as a feather. And that's definitely the energy of Owl. It's one of its gifts. As much as, it's a great time for research, to slow down, ancient wisdom, um, the sense of karma, it just wants to free people from karma being a bondage. Karma should be a platform to stand on. You stand on the wisdom of the past, not the pain and the confusion of the past. So the energy of owl is helping to release us from that. And just imagine a wise owl if you want to remember what this is about. Okay. Next energy is Muluc or water. And this one is kind of like if Owl couldn't get the job done, then Muluc will step in and kick into a different gear. So the energy of this water energy, it's more of a fire water actually. It's about energetic purification. Think of fire underwater and how it can get that water to start to simmer. There's a sense of pressure under it, and boiling water helps to kill bacteria and stuff, and um purify the water itself. And the way it feels when you're experiencing this as a Trecena energy is like it can kind of feel like there's some kind of cosmic parental energy that is encouraging us to do better and reminding us that we know better, whether that's in our tasks, in our projects or job, or in our relationships. I think especially so in our relationships, but not just limited to our relationships. Even things that we need to do for ourselves. Like you had a diet plan that you started, and you are not being faithful to this energy of water can kind of give people that sense of I got to do better here, I got to do better there. And sometimes actually, if you don't know what's going on with you, you might feel like you're under pressure, and that can lead to nervousness or anxiety if you feel it very strongly. But just understand that it's just a nudge for improvement, a nudge to do things that you already know you can do well. So there's a need for energetic balance. This is what this energy is about, and to have right relationship to things. And water seeks its own level all the time. Water will always try to find its own level and balance everything else. So that is pretty much the energy of water. To tie up loose ends or unpaid debts as well. Just think about purification and doing better. If you want to have another example, the song by Rihanna where she says, "Bitch better have my money." Yeah, that is the energy of Muluc. And funny thing is, Rihanna is also born on the day of Muluc, on the day of water. So she's a water day sign. So I think it's pretty iconic that she had that song. And there's also a connection between, I think, water energy and money and finances. You got to balance the checkbooks. You got to do it with integrity. Make sure you're not stealing money, which is what her accountant did to her. So yeah, all that's coming under this one. All right. The next Trecena is, let me make sure it's the correct one. Yeah, it's Ik or wind. This one represents there can be a sense of ease of action. Like it's easy to get into things, it's easy to do things, it's easy to get into activity, into movement, into speech or communication. You could feel like a self starter in the sense that you don't you like there are certain things that you wouldn't wait for someone else to take care of, but you would take care of it yourself. You would like not sit there and wait. You would just let me just do this. Let me just take care of that. Oh, I have this thought, I have this idea. Let me just, you know, go into it directly. Taking initiative, being a self starter. Just imagine how the wind is always blowing and the wind doesn't need anything to blow its. In a way, you could say, at least when you look at it visually, trees have to be blown by the wind. The water is blown by the wind and, it moves according to gravity. But the wind is kind of like it moves so easily as if it just prompts itself to do it. So there's a sense of it's easy to get into movement. And there's also, how do I say this? Sometimes because of this sense of movement and action is easy. You know how people can sometimes identify their persona, um, they define themselves by their actions and their speech. And sometimes, and now we're getting deeper to understanding this energy. Sometimes this need to do this and do that, can come from a place where people are trying to feel substantial in and of themselves. And they feel more substantial through what they do or through what they say, through, in a way, almost like they're creating an image of themselves that feels somewhat more tangible that they can feel, and they say that this is me. So they begin to identify themselves with their actions, essentially. And the lesson of Ik or wind, the silent wisdom of it, is that you are not your actions, you are the presence behind the action. It's kind of like if you're looking at the wind and just imagine yourself asking the wind, hey, why are you always moving? Why are you always going here and there? Are you running away from something? What's all this movement about? Why don't you ever want to sit still and be still? Now, of course, the wind cannot do that, but just imagine you're having a conversation with the wind. Is the wind avoiding stillness? Is it avoiding itself in some way by getting into all this movement all the time? And just internalize that as if you are the wind, as if you're questioning the underlying motives behind you doing all these actions. Are they becoming a distraction now? Presence is found beyond and behind the actor and the activity. Rest, presence, or stillness is the basis of movement. You are not your action. So that is the secret wisdom of wind. The energy of wind can come and people can feel more, active or propelled to do things. And it's great to use this energy to get things done. But on a deeper spiritual level, don't forget that you are the presence, not the actor, not the action. And sometimes with wind, it can be connected to anger issues. Like if you can imagine a hurricane and how that feels, you could say within the story of the Trecenas, right? We had Ahau, that's forgiveness. You had water, which gives more fire to the purification. Just imagine that there's some things left over that haven't found resolution yet. And if they've built up over time, then it's going to find the next level of release, which is a hurricane, which is the big bad wolf, I guess, blowing off the was that is that the right story I'm referring to? I don't know. But this is the next level of releasing emotions, releasing baggage, releasing those karmic imprints, is anger and outbursts like a strong wind. And so here you have a story of different ways to resolve things. It's easy if people can reconcile with one another, and if they don't, the energy of Muluc will come and in some way tell everyone energetically you can do better. There's a bit of extra pressure. And then finally, the third step, all right, now you just got to scream it out. And that's the Ik. That's the energy of wind. The next Trecena, and we have one more after this, and we'll be done with the Trecena. This one is Men or Eagle. And this one is a very interesting time. It's flow state season. If the energy of wind was, it's easy to get into activity, the energy of eagle is flow state, actually. It's more easygoing. There's less of a compulsive pull towards action. In fact, you actually feel like you're moving in tune with things. the action of wind energy is somewhat more individualistic, but the action of eagle energy feels more collective, like you and your environment. You feel the sense of the pace that your environment is moving, the pace of, let's say, cosmic movement, you can say, and you moving within that, in a sense, as if you're not moving. Because if the whole cosmos is moving, if the whole, it's like if the car is moving, you don't feel like you're moving. That's what it feels like, flow state. And so the larger cosmic flow and that moving somewhere within the system, if it may not happen as a mental, realization, but something in the system is feeling that on a deeper level. And so in our experience, it comes up as a sense of easygoingness, a sense of flow state, a sense of, letting things, um the timeline for certain projects or certain activities will be like, ah, happening at a different, pace. It's also, just imagine an eagle flying in the sky, and then it starts to glide. It stopped to flap its wings are spread out, and it's just letting the wind to blow above its wings and below its wings, and it's just there, kind of suspended in the sky, still, in stillness, not doing anything, but it's still floating in the sky in flow state. And because the eagle is so high up, it has a very clear vision of everything. This is a time when people can have prophetic dreams or deep dreams and deep visions because the eagle can see so much more. And because the eagle can look down and see the whole landscape, there's a sense for concern for humanity. Like the heart can feel like a mother to the world. People who are emotionally sensitive and care for others might feel a deeper pang or a deeper pain for the suffering that's in the world, you could say, or things that are happening around them. Just a general healthy concern for society, for humanity, like a mother to the world kind of thing. This can be, this can come in during that time, and it can even be very intense for some people. Luckily, it becomes a bit more balanced after the Trecena, but I think it's important to have those days where people feel more concerned for the global or the wider context of life around them. In a sense, this wider context of life, because you're in touch with it, it feels like a flow state. It also feels like, your heartstrings are being pulled for issues around you. And there's also a sense of balancing independence and one's need for support. So imagine an eagle is like an apex predator, it's independent, but it's hanging up there in the sky in the wind, in this flow state kind of balance. It's suspended up there. It's independent, but it's still in touch with the wider context. And then there's a sense of, it's kind of like a duality. You want to be independent, but you need support. How to balance the two, you know? I think the energy of ego can bring some wisdom for us if we're able to listen to it, to see how to navigate those things, especially in like our current times, because this is so important to think about. People can become too individualistic at times, and when you do that, sometimes there's only so far you can go before you crash down and have a strong desire for support, for connection with others. There's different ways to get things done. Hyper individualism is not healthy, but at the same time, individuality or individual freedom or unique individual expression is not at odds with or against cosmic the cosmic context or the wider context of life. They go hand in hand. It's just a balance. And the energy of men or ego represents the flow state. And by the way, when I say men, that's just the Yucatan word. I'm not talking about males. I'm talking about, this is just the language, okay? That is the energy of ego. Now we have the final energy of the Trecena of the Tzolk'in. We've come to the end. This one is Lamat, also called the rabbits in English. And this one is deeply connected with the sense of harmony. Like with ego, you had the sense of flow state and sensing yourself within a wider context. Lamat takes it further because um, there is a sense of, you could say, generosity is one thing, you know. You let me be careful here with my words and be more precise about it. I'm divided between going with what I'm reading on the screen and just freestyling it off the top of my head. Let me see if I can freestyle first. That might be better. So yeah, so the sense of having to let go of control. That harmony is not yours to create. Because sometimes you see the wider context of things. Things not everything is perfect. And some situations can affect you too, in a sense. There's a certain vulnerability, especially when you're aware of the wider context around you. Uh, Not everything feels or looks safe. So some nervousness can come, you know, and there's an inner desire or an innate desire for harmony or safety. And that can come up through validation or sometimes people pleasing, or, you know, these are like negative expressions of it, obviously. But the sense of the collective well being and how it affects you. But the lesson of Lamat or rabbit and how to get out of this, maybe if a feeling of nervousness comes up more to you, depending on your life situations, is to remember that harmony is not always yours to create in a way. There's a certain underlying intelligence that is running this whole matrix, running this whole system. It's not seemingly chaotic, you know. If the eagle is up in the sky and it's seeing all this crazy stuff happening on Earth, and now transitioning into Lamat or the rabbits, there's a sense of fear, you know. It's not purely chaotic. And just look at the glyph, the star, the glyph of Lamat, the symbol. It's basically a star. Or within the star, you can see the galaxies and the universe. I mean, imagine how the universe was born, whether it's a big bang or an initial um, spark, you could say, and how that produced trillions or billions of galaxies, stars, planets, etc. That's a chaotic blast. Like an explosion is basically chaotic, but within this cosmic explosion, there's an inherent design, an inherent intelligent design or sense of organization. Like this whole universe and cosmos is self-organizing. And that is the harmony. If the ego was not able to trust the harmony within the flow state, if it wasn't as, because with ego season, it's kind of like you feel it, but you feel it in a, you're not fully conscious of it. You benefit from it, you take it for granted. But with rabbit, it's kind of like, imagine you forgot it, or imagine you doubted it. And so now you need to understand it on a deeper level. So the view from the sky is not enough. Now you're going up to the stars to see to see if it's for real. And when you go up into the stars, into the wider cosmic sphere, then for sure you have proof that the spirals, the geometry, everything of existence of nature within the universe above and below, there is an intelligent order, an intelligent design. It's like an ordered chaos. There's an unspoken harmony to it. And the energy of rabbit is about learning about that and learning to trust it and lean into it and to understand that you can let go of control, which is to surrender, because harmony is not yours to create by force. You don't have to play God. You are already here. Like the harmony is already here and you're part of it. Even if certain things don't look pleasing, it's also happening in a sense according to certain karmic laws. And if you're in doubt, you can refer to the wisdom of the owl or jib, which deals with, you know, karmic issues, uh, the whole karmic ancient past, and all that stuff. The energy of rabbit is also very mentally active in a sense. Think about popcorn. I had a friend that called her popcorn brain because she was a rabbit energy person. And rabbits reproduce a lot, so there's fertility, there's being able to be very productive. And sometimes this high energy, high mental energy, high energy to be productive can also, if it goes into the mental, part of you and you're nervous or you're worried or you have concerns, it can lead to that exaggerated sense of nervousness. That's also where it can come from. Just think about how, like, the energy that just throws up galaxies. That there's an intense sense of, there's so many concepts that are coming to my mind right now, and I want to connect them all. But it's so tricky because I can speak for an hour, and I think that's a lot. But that's very much like rabbit. It's like, just imagine fireworks, and it's such a beautiful display. It's an explosion, but it's beautiful. So imagine your mind exploding, but it should be beautiful. Don't let your mind explode and become like into madness. Okay, let it reflect the beauty. Yeah, I think I can go back to the point of, because I'm gonna say one more thing about the energy of rabbit. This is like the crescendo. When you imagine the universe exploding, actually, I need the next slide to talk about this. Let's go here. But just to summarize, the energy of rabbit, you can be more productive, you can be more mentally active, but be careful about being too worried and wanting to control every situation. Surrender, trust in um the harmony that is inherent in nature and in life, and move with that kind of wisdom. All right. So here's how I want to talk about this. What is the source? What is the source of these energies that we are talking about? The energies of the Tricanas don't only originate from the heart of the universe, which is the Hunab Ku that the Mayas call. The Hunab Ku, you can imagine that to be the center of creation. It's the one giver of movement. So the very initial movement that I was talking about. But they don't just originate from the Hunab Ku, because the center of every of existence is actually everywhere at the same time. You can open up, if you could, existence in a rock or within yourself and go all the way to the source. So these energies, they also originate from within our own consciousness. And that's how intimate and close they are to us. Remember that ancient shamans learned about the Tzolk'in through deep trance states, deep states of meditation. If astrology is about looking at the stars and the celestial bodies and connecting that to how it affects human beings, the the Tzolk'in is more, the approach to figure it out was more intuitive. They went within, because this is where these energies also arise from and express themselves. So at least that's the story. Okay, let me put that disclaimer. At least that's the story, and I may not be saying it in the very best way. So also please do your research as well. You know, I felt something in my heart saying, put that out there. Don't believe me, people, also do your research. But definitely, this system is very intuitive, and it's very, on a soul level, you could say, or on a deeply spiritual level, it's very helpful for evolution, for one's evolution and growth. And like fireworks, or I like the analogy of a tree. You have a seed and you plant a seed. Because I told you, Lamat or rabbits is very productive, very fertile. So you plant a seed, it grows into a tree, and that tree bears fruits. And let's say it has 100 fruits, and in all those fruits you have 20 seeds, and you plant those seeds from those fruits when they fall, and they become more trees. So just imagine the sense of expansion, growth. You know, Lamat is also the sign of abundance, and this is the nature of reality. It's constantly expanding. And it's also its beauty. And this is the nature of consciousness, the primal waters. There's a beautiful connection between Imix going all the way to Lamat. Like, this is a whole spiritual journey. If Imix is the primordial waters of the unmanifest, then Lamat is the beauty of the total manifest. If Imix is the mother, the creator, mother creator, then Lamat is the creation that has been birthed, the total abundance and beauty and expansiveness of it. It's kind of like Imix turned inside out becomes Lamat. And within all these energies, you have a beautiful spiritual story that you have just witnessed here or, heard me talk about. It's so enriching. I should be more excited about this, but forgive me, it's like 1 or 2 a.m. and I'm recording this video. I was so much more excited when I made this point. In the first video I tried to make that got it couldn't record my sound all the way. But this is a fascinating thing. I think if I've done my job to properly explain to you the beauty and significance of the Tzolk'in, then you already see how beautiful the system is.